Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today we have a very special guest. Her name is Naureen Rehman and she does like a Sharia complaint wills and estate planning. So we're going to have a very exclusive show with her today with interviewing with Aisha Khan. So let's talk to her and let's see how her firm is working for this cause. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. Thank you for having me today.
You're very welcome. So tell us a little bit about what is the planning, Sharia, complaint wills and estate.
Yes, absolutely. So I think if we start from the beginning, a lot of first generation, born Muslims and non-Muslims are learning about estate planning, but a lot of first generation immigrants are unaware. And estate planning is a critical piece to kind of living a more fulfilled life. Having assurance and, knowing that you have taken care of your loved ones. In terms of being Sharia compliant, there are certain steps and a procedure in terms of allocation of your assets, how your assets are distributed across your family. They're very specific rules. And along with that, it's both, in the Quran and it's also in the Hadith. Some examples are if, death might be near you, that you should create a will. Or another Hadith is that if you are away from your home for more than 2 nights, that you should have a will as well. And so in this sense, it's extremely important, I think, by religion to be able to plan for your family and make sure that you and your family are taken care of.
That's nice. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about more, because Sharia law basically is Islamic law in inheritance, right?
Right, exactly. And so this is specifically for Islamic planning. And so, like I said, there are very specific rules that you go through. But when you come to Western law and, perhaps living in the United States, there's huge benefits to doing estate planning. Like I said, we're shifting the way estate planning is done. It's more like you're planning for life rather than planning for death. And so we want families to have assurance, knowing that their loved ones are taken care of. And there's numerous benefits, such as immense cost savings. If you don't do just a foundational plan, which is normally a will and your healthcare directives, your financial power of attorneys, and some other foundational documents. If you do other things, such as creating a family trust or a dynasty trust, those things assist in tax savings, because there is, in Maryland, an estate tax upon passing, and then there's also a federal estate tax. And so you want to be careful, because it can go up to about 56% of your entire estate being taxed upon death. And that's not something we want to plan for, right? This is money that we have worked very hard for our family and for our children. And there is no reason why anyone should go above the exemption, the threshold. And so, our country is in a deficit. In the last couple of years, the amount of money ever printed in the history of the U.S. has doubled. And so, because of that, estate tax law and tax law changes. And so we meet with our clients every 3 years. And that is because you have life changes, you have marriages, you have births, you have death in the family, you have a divorce, you also have asset changes. You buy a home, you sell a home, you may buy a car. And then another thing that changes every couple of years is tax law and estate law. And so that's why it's really important to keep your estate plan up to date. And we do that by working with our clients, and we consider ourselves, we are personal family lawyers. So we work with our clients all the way through, and we make sure that we have an asset inventory list. Right now, in the entire country, there's over $56 billion of unclaimed assets. And so this is your hard-earned money. This is, tax returns that were owed back to you, or some other monies that were owed back to you that have not made its way back to you because you have passed. And so that's something you just don't want to happen. Another benefit to doing estate planning, in where there is a will or where there is not a will, there will be probate. And probate court is very timely, it's very costly, and it's public, and that's something that South Asian people and immigrant families, we don't like to be out in the public and all of our business known. There are people like Jackie Kennedy and Britney Spears. So many of their business, so much of their business is out in the public. And so when you create a family trust, it's really you're adjudicating the passing of a loved one in the privacy of your attorney's office. It is a set of instructions for the successor trustees to follow in the benefit of who you've named as beneficiaries in your trust.
That's great knowledge. So what do you suggest? How soon should we start this? Or unless you are very rich?
No, not at all. It has nothing to do with that, quite frankly. If you are over the age of 18, you should have an estate plan. If you are going off to college, you should have an estate plan. Why do I say this? Because parents, once you reach the age of 18, your parents do not have the same authority and power over you. So if, God forbid, there is a sickness or you're in the hospital, God forbid in the beginning, a lot of this came up with COVID, individuals were being intubated. There was no power of attorney to make those healthcare decisions. There was no power of attorney for, parents or siblings or friends, exactly, to help and make your financial decisions. So people's homes, yes, exactly. There's, foreclosures. There were so many things that were happening. So if you're over the age of 18, and especially if you own any asset, doesn't matter how small or how large. I mean, most of us have, some sort of retirement account. You want your beneficiaries to always be updated, and all of those should, hopefully roll into a trust. And it just makes your financial and your asset life very easy. Yeah.
Okay, that's wonderful. So, of course, parents are the one who should think about the loved ones and spouses, especially. So, as you are saying, doesn't have to be rich or anything, but it's more like you are very concerned what will happen. God forbid if anything happens to you, right? So I think it's very, very important that we should think about this, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And in generally, when we are talking about just estate planning, so of course the wills is just for everyone, right? But Sharia compliance wills is just according to our Islamic law, which is different, as you were saying, according to the Quran and Sunnah. Like we have to follow that, right? Right. So do you want to explain a little bit about that?
Well, it's honestly, it's a mathematical calculation, and so there's just certain provisions that go into.
So just a touch base, because I know it's very in depth and we cannot cover in the entire book. For people's knowledge for themselves, like just to read, there are plenty of books, Sharia law, just to get the little knowledge for themselves, how does that work. But of course you are also, as an attorney, help them, right? Just to plan on that.
Right. Well, so I mean, with our wills that are Sharia compliant, we go through the bloodline, and it's a ratio that's given to different family members in relation to what your status was to the deceased, the person that has passed. But beyond that, we also add in things that I've not seen before, such as paying your zakat up until the time that you passed.
That's true. And the debts.
Right. Obviously, you want to take care of all of the debts. But when you were talking about children, you brought up something very important. We do something that is called a kids protection plan. So we do long-term nominations for guardianship, and we also do short-term. In Maryland, short-term guardianship is normally if someone is being incarcerated, going away for a long while, then you can give short-term guardianship of your child to someone else. But what we saw with COVID was that because there was no short-term guardianship nominations quite often in people's estate plan, that children were being picked up by Child Protective Services and being, taken from their home and put into foster care, even if it was just for 48, 72 hours until another parent could be located. So this was a really big problem. And so, that was definitely a traumatic experience for not just, the children and the families, but for us lawyers as well, because that was something that was very, very tumultuous. But so we came up with something that's called a Kids Protection Plan. So we have family emergency identification cards. We have instructions to caregivers, like a nanny or a babysitter. We have instructions of what to do if the parents cannot be contacted for schools. We also do a medical power of attorney if either of the parents cannot be found. The number one question parents normally ask is, if we go to that party today, if we go to that dava today and we don't come home, what will happen to our minor children at home? And that's something you should think about. There should be a plan. We plan for vacations. We plan for birthday parties. We plan for everything with such meticulous attention. And the one thing that we know is going to happen.
Right?
We know we're all not going to be here one day. This is a fact. And so we are doing our loved ones a disservice if we are not planning. And it's, if you choose an attorney, a firm that understands you and is with you during this journey, it can be very painless. I know that people who have lost a parent, it can be very difficult, or a loved one, to go down this route. But I think you also understand the importance of it, because to have to manage, gathering up bank accounts and property and assets and transferring those.
A lot of work
Yeah,
required, right?
it is. And so what we try to do is make your life easier. Most of us are attorneys that actually, work for the government and do this as our passion. And so, we really want to make sure that the vulnerable are taken care of. And so, we started this over 2 decades ago, and mostly we dealt with elderly and children, minor children, more vulnerable populations. But after COVID happened, there was an extreme shift in almost the entire population becoming a vulnerable person.
So do you want to talk a little bit more about the cost,
Oh, sure. So, I consider estate planning like buying a car. Do you just want something that's going to get you from point A to point B? Great. You need that. That is your foundational base. Beyond that, do you want some extra bells and whistles? Do you want, to gift your children a little extra protection? Do you want more safety features? And so it really can run the entire gamut.
So the more you add, of course.
Well, I mean, the more you add, but when you do the cost benefit, that relationship, it's well worth it. I mean, probate can be anywhere from 20,000 on upwards.
Yeah,
and
that's
so,
right, of course. So why not just do it something smartly?
Yeah.
Initially,
Right.
rather than just be like in trouble later on.
Right. And you've brought up a great point, because if you just go to something like LegalZoom or an online document center, or go to someone that's charging very little for their document, most likely it's going to be a boilerplate document, and it's not going to, fit for your special family or individual situation, and it can fail and fall on its face in court, and that is where the mishap happens. We really are looking at, bringing the justice back to estate planning. We don't want, people to make the big bucks doing probate law. You should plan wisely and have your estate plan in tight.
That's a good point, actually. Can you just explain a little bit about probate law, just for our viewers?
Sure. So probate is something that happens after you pass. So then, you would
Without a will, right? If you just pass away and then, nothing is there.
Right.
So then it's a problem.
It is a problem. It's an expensive problem. So it's, you know, if you have a will or you don't have a will, you will go to probate, but it's much faster and easier to transfer financial, you know, your documents, your the signatures, the beneficiaries. It's much easier to manage all of that, your property, your money, when it's in a trust. And in a trust, you get to say who gets what when. I like to do stages and phases.
That's right.
So, you know, you don't want to have $1 million life insurance and your child get it, God forbid, right when they turn 18.
That's true.
I mean, you've just entirely changed the trajectory of their perhaps undergraduate education because they've just come into so much money and then they've prolonged their educational experience or whatever situation may arise. So the best thing to do is to, you know, allow them to be a co-trustee for a certain amount of time so that you're teaching them financial management. You're teaching your children to be more mindful of how to manage their financial affairs. And that's something that is stipulated in the instructions in the trust for your, you know, your subsequent trustees to manage with your children. And then eventually when they become of age, you know, they can manage their own trust. Or, you know, you can give them a lifetime asset protection trust and protect all of their inheritance against any future creditor. So there's so many things you can do. It is not one size fits all.
Yeah, that's true. So can you also share a little bit about if somebody plans to go with the wills, right? So what is the thing like age-wise, that is there is a certain age that, as you were saying, that if they are capable to handle their financial situations, like such as 22 years old, maybe 25. So is the parents are the ones who can do the age, or it's just like you guys suggest, or what would you think?
Yeah, I mean, we do an entire design session.
Okay.
So our, the way that we work is that we first meet with our clients and we, you know, understand the situation and what is their priority, and we basically teach our clients what they need to know.
Okay.
And the client makes the decision of this is what's best for me, this sounds
For my
good.
child, this
Yes,
sounds
exactly. And then we'll go through an entire design session. Thereafter, we do a CIMI, which is a confirmation of critical information and missing information.
Okay.
So once that is complete, within a few weeks after that, because we're still in a state of emergency, you know, we swear you in online, we do e-notary, e-signature, and my favorite part of the estate plan is actually I do a legacy interview at the end.
Oh wow.
This is
That's so awesome.
yeah, this is something I started about 3 years ago.
Very different.
Yeah, my actually my mother passed very unexpectedly.
Okay.
And, you know, going through all of our videos, I really have nothing clear of her, you know, telling her story. And so what I do is I actually take my clients through this interview and ask them about, you know, themselves, their values, their life, their parents, their grandparents. And it's a keepsake for generations to come. And to date, I don't think I've had someone not tear up. It's very kind and sweet and raw and emotional, and you really get to see, you know, who that person is at that point in time.
That's amazing. So as you were saying, so the age doesn't have to do anything with certain state of law. It's just the parents that you were saying that you design basically according to the need. Right?
Yeah, if you do a trust, yes.
Okay.
Yes, in a trust you get to say, I would like my child to receive this, or you can also bake it into a will. You know, like I said, in the design session is when you really create what is best for you and your family. Most important is definitely the foundational plan. You know, those foundational documents that you want to have in place, especially if you're over the age of 18, you know, if you have health issues, if you're a vulnerable person, if you have children, if you are taking care of an elderly parent, anyone that depends on you, you know, these are all scenarios that you really want to make sure that you have, you know, taking care of the people that you need to take care of and take care of yourself. You want someone to be able to make those financial decisions for you, to pay your bill, to, if you're a business owner, many of our clients are small business owners because, you want to make
The
sure.
safety, right?
Yes, and the safety, it's an entire system. We call it the lift system. And so, it's all about, your insurance, your financial, your tax, your legal matters. This lift system is what protects, small businesses, but we take those strategies and implement it into estate planning too, to where your estate lawyer, your, the person that does your taxes, your investment broker, all these people work together cohesively.
As a team, right?
Exactly, to make sure that everything
The
you need.
decisions are made properly, right?
Right.
Yeah,
And as they should be, you're
that's
paying
true.
for services and they should be,
Able to help you.
it should be a holistic, it should be a holistic plan for you and your family.
Yeah, so in other words, if we can say like foundational, it's like a situation oriented.
It's not situation oriented. I mean, I think foundational plan everyone should have.
Okay.
The next plan is the trust plan, which I think actually everyone should have also because it makes life very nice and easy.
So you mean like basic plan, which is like,
Right.
in other words, foundational, right?
Yes.
Everyone should have it at least.
Yes, agreed. I mean, I can't stress it enough. I'm a human rights lawyer. I've been working with vulnerable people for over 20 years. I've lived in refugee camps for shy of a decade.
Wow.
I can.
Amazing work, years.
Thank
She's
you.
not just, mashallah, doing this one thing, many things.
Thank you. It's very important. It's very important to me that, vulnerable individuals are taken care of, and it's very unfortunate, if you're not a citizen, and your children are, I mean, there's so many things that you really want to just take into account. If your spouse is not a citizen, I mean, there's so many intricate details that you really want to work through with your lawyer. You don't want to get something off of LegalZoom or off of some lawyer who's, charging you, just pennies, because it's not going to work when you need it.
Yeah. Actually, that's something really, different that you just brought it up. Like if your parents are not citizens, right? So can you tell us a little bit about that? That might be a worse situation.
Yeah.
It's very difficult what to do with the children and all that. So in that case, what should we do?
Yeah, I mean, it's case by case basis, right? If you're deriving your immigration status from your spouse who's on a work visa and your children are U.S. born, I think this show would probably go into next week if I started explaining all the intricate details. But
yeah, we can have
that's
the entire the whole show with Naureen Rehman, definitely. And each session we can cover one part, right? Of course.
Of course, absolutely. I mean, like I said, what we like to do is educate our clients, because you really should make the decision for yourself for what is best for you and your family. I just hope that I'm reaching out and saying something that resonates with people, that will make them take that first step to call us and have that initial meeting and get down that foundational plan. From there you can do anything, but really, like I said, our package is a one-time fee and we meet every 3 years, and that's very important. You have any attorney at our firm, at your disposal to ask questions at any point in time. We really walk you through. We really are an attorney for life. If you call us and you need something for another family, kind of circumstance or situation, if we don't have the answer, we will help you find someone that can help you, because we are a group of lawyers across the U.S. that are part of this organization that really believe in protecting, the more vulnerable individuals. And during COVID, it just showed us something very, very different.
That's amazing. So what is the name of your firm? Do you want to talk a little bit about your firm and how many people are in your team and all that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the name of our firm is Millennium Attorney. That is because many of us graduated in 2000 from law school, and immediately we all began clerkships at all the local courthouses. And thereafter, we took all of our skills and opened up this law firm, and each one of us rotated taking care of the firm. So at one point, I moved to West Africa, and one of my partners was taking care of the firm, and then vice versa. When I came back, then she went and, she managed her additional degrees. Most of us did law school in this area, and then thereafter we worked for firms, we worked for local judges, and then we also went on, many of us have a post-law degree in LLM. I studied international law and also did a program overseas in humanitarian and post-conflict crisis law as well. So I think, we've been around for a long time. We've seen what has happened to families, the financial turmoil that families have gone into, just trying to get, a primary residence back out of probate court. It can just be a nightmare. Just to take over the financial bank account. Bank institutions are very reluctant to pass over to someone else.